Episode 120. 2 middle-aged men in Cleveland. Mr. Ted Klopp. More and more looking like Oral Hershiser from the most recent baseball game he went to. When you had that jersey on, when you were there with your wife and kids, I
Nobody
thought
stopped me. No,
There's
nobody
no doubt.
stopped me.
Ken Dworsnik here, going to bring you some fine entertainment. Ted, I know you have something to talk about, but we have to start the show right. Many people always ask about this, and I did my research. Time for some jersey numbers. Always our fan favorite. We'll start with the Cavaliers. Can you name any number 20s for the Cavaliers? I think you got a shot actually with one.
Was Winston Bennett number 20?
Oh, wow. That wasn't even one I was thinking of. But yes, he was number 20. Okay. Well done.
Oh, boy.
The only guess I'll give you is that this gentleman is still involved with the organization.
I don't know.
Campy Russell.
Oh, okay.
Also, everyone's favorite, Eric Snow.
Okay.
Brandon Knight. Those round out the top Cavaliers wearing jersey number 20. How about for the Cleveland Indians? This one, there's some good names on this one.
Well, I know who we'll have next week, but or next show. I'm ready for that. But number 20, Mark Lewis was 10.
No, Mark Lewis was also 20. Well done.
Was he? Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
What number was Kelly Shopping?
I know he's not 20. I'm not sure offhand, but he is not 20. I did not see that name on there.
You're going to tell me somebody that I'm going to be mad that I didn't get, but go ahead. Oh, wait a minute. No. I was about to say Alvaro Espinosa, but he was 10 as well, I believe.
No, that's correct.
Go ahead.
Interesting list here. First of all, you got to say first, Frank Robinson. Well, I mean, that guy, Hall of Famer. Otis Nixon, just a fan favorite. Good old Otis, could run the bases really well.
Wasn't he in the band in Animal House?
I think he was, yeah. Okay. The Rascals, yeah.
Yeah.
Rick Manning, number 20. Here's a name. You'll love this as soon as you're Gorman Thomas. Remember some Gorman Thomas?
Oh, yeah. I didn't. Yeah.
Willie Upshaw.
Okay.
And then also, and actually, I didn't get this one either. I forgot.
This is going to be a guy during the 90s.
This last one is, yes.
Yeah.
Victor Martinez.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think he was actually in the 2000s.
In the 2000s. I thought there was somebody notable in the 90s, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Well, if you're not right, you're certainly not wrong.
There you go.
What about the brown helmet folks? Any 20s that come to mind? I look at the list that I have in front of me. You got a chance at one.
Pretty
good chance, actually.
There, Eric. No, not Eric Turner. Eric Turner was 29. It's got to be a defensive player, and I can't think of anybody. You got some initials?
DR.
No, I got nothing.
He's no longer with us. Was very good and then passed away way too early.
I got nothing.
Don Rogers.
Oh my.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Earl Little is also on that list. And then two running backs. One was in the when the Cleveland Cavaliers won, he was in the parade.
Okay.
As a Cleveland Brown, did play for one other team.
Was he a running back?
He was a running back.
Leroy. No, not Leroy Kelly. I don't know.
He played with Bernie Ball.
A number 20 running back who played with Bernie?
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know.
Ernest Biner.
He was 20? I thought he was 21.
He was 20.
Oh, okay.
And then another guy who was a former Giant, and this was around the Bill Belichick time because he just brought over these old Giants to play for our team. Joe Morris. Remember Joe Morris, the small running
Yes.
back?
Yes.
He played some time for us and wore number 20. That's a pretty interesting list.
So I did a little quick Google search here of other number 20s for the Indians, and some of these from the 90s. This one guy is the guy I was thinking of. Steve Carsey.
Steve Carsey
was the guy I was trying to think of.
Yeah. He was a closer, was he not?
Well, I don't
Closer,
don't
middle
remember.
or end of the relief guy. Yeah.
But you've got from the early 90s, Reggie Jefferson, that everybody is going to be the great first baseman, and he went nowhere. Turner Ward.
Oh my gosh. Turner
Ruben
Ward.
Amaro was number 20 in 1995. Jeremy Burnitz, Kevin Seitzer, and then if we go to the 2000s, you've got Karim Garcia.
Oh my.
During that, and maybe a guy who could have been the biggest hero in Indians baseball history, Rajay Davis.
Oh my gosh.
Was number 20.
Hands down.
But that didn't quite work out.
Didn't happen. He did his job. It's just we couldn't finish the game.
No, couldn't finish the game. Hey, did you see that Crocker Park got an award?
No, I did not.
So Chain Store Age magazine sent out its 2023 top retail experiences in the country, the whole country. Crocker Park got 5th in the country.
Wow. Huh.
Number 5. They take into account entertainment, community engagement, innovation, and overall visitor experience. So the top 5 retail centers, according to the magazine: the Mall of America in Minnesota, Tuscan Village in Salem, New Hampshire, Fenton in Cary, North Carolina, Naperville Crossings in Naperville, Illinois, and Crocker Park in Westlake.
Huh.
How about that?
All I can tell you about that place is it's like a black hole. You go there and it seems like you can never leave because there's just every story you could ever imagine, and the eating and drinking is great there too. But that's very cool. No, that's great information, Mr. Klopp. That's awesome.
That's awesome. They Legacy Village, if I'm not mistaken, on the east side came in first as the new outdoor experience. And then I think Crocker Park took Legacy Village and, amped it up by a couple 100%.
Yes, they did.
So congratulations and some good news for Cleveland. How about that?
That's great.
Well, coming up on this week's show, Brad Forenza is here. He's the writer and producer of a scripted audio podcast drama called Around the Sun. Season 3 is coming up. We're going to talk to him about the show and about creating a scripted audio drama, like a radio drama from radio yesteryear. Dusty Sloan is here. He's got another historical moment in Cleveland baseball, though not for Cleveland. We seem to have that a lot. John Grabowski is also here. He will give us a history lesson on Cleveland's West Side Market. So we've got that and plenty of nonsense coming up.
And now, a woman's perspective.
Why are all blonde jokes one-liners? So men can understand them.
This has been a woman's perspective.
Ted, we have good news, which is always great. I think we actually have 2 items of good news.
Okay.
The first involves Philadelphia Phillies star Bryce Harper. He was taking pictures with fans as part of a promotional photo night, but during the event, he was spotted on the side of a crowd of people consoling a young boy. The boy had apparently gotten excited and then separated from his family. The 7-time All-Star consoled the boy and stayed with him until he was reunited with his family, at which point Harper posed for a selfie with the boy and his 2 brothers. Later that night, Harper homered. Wow, that's a great story. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome. You're a big league ball player, but you know when to switch into dad mode.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Knowing when to basically humble yourself and spend time with the kid that they'll probably never forget for the rest of their lives. Very cool.
And then, of course, he switched back into baseball mode later in the evening.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. We also want to say congratulations to Fairview Park High School senior Owen Darnell. He is in the Young Marines program and recently returned from the 2023 National Leadership Academy Advanced Leadership School in California, where he was named one of the top 10 graduates. Each of the 50 attendees had individual and collective goals to develop their leadership, mentorship, and management skills while competing in physical challenges and being evaluated on their knowledge, skills, and abilities. So great job by Owen Darnell.
That's awesome. Hats off to a nice young man from the local area of Fairview Park High School. They have to be very proud of him.
That's what we need in Cleveland. We need some leadership.
Another history lesson with our favorite history professor, John Grabowski. John, I have one today that is got a lot of history with Cleveland, but I believe very soon they're going to be doing some work on this area. And we're going to talk today about the West Side Market. What history lesson can you tell us about the West Side Market, and what information do you have for us today?
Do we have an hour and a half?
Ted may have that.
No, I guess there are two basic lessons here. One is to understand that Cleveland and Ohio City were separate communities. Cleveland established in 1796, and Ohio City, the West Side, opens up for settlement. Native Americans held claim there until 1805, so the two separate communities. So there's a West Side Market, and there were markets on the East Side, and it gets the whole history of markets because where did you shop? And so each of these communities at that point, it's something we're seeing now in the new marketplaces. Farmers would come in on the main roads from the farmlands, and they'd put their goods for sale in markets. And so Ohio City had its own market. It started in 1819, but it actually started on Franklin Circle. It was kind of an open air market there. But already two people had, Richard Lord and Josiah Barber, had given land at what is now West 25th and Lorraine for public use. Now, this gets into a longer story. When Cleveland and Ohio City merge in 1854, the city of Cleveland decides to take that area in Franklin Circle and turn it into a park, on the first park, so Franklin Circle Park. And so the market has to move, and eventually it moves to the let me get this right, the northwest corner of what is now the intersection of Lorraine and West 25th Street, West 25th Street being Pearl Road. And that's the thing, the farmers would come down Pearl Road. You go to Parma, that's the farm route right into the West Side. In Cleveland, the farm, Hinsman Woodland, that's where the farmers came in. So Cleveland has Central Market, Sheriff Street markets, so forth. And that's now where athletes get paid mega bucks to play basketball. Okay. But the one on the west side is they basically, it's an open air market, and that site it's called Market Square. It's right across from the current market. And then they eventually build a one-story wooden building, and it houses that. And as the city, it's now a unified city, is growing up, during the progressive period, they decide that they need a new market house. And that's when the current one is built. And it's started under Tom Johnson's administration. Johnson dies before it's completed. He dies, I believe, in 1911. That market, which is by Cleveland, one of the most famous architectural firms in Cleveland, Bell and Benish. They were the Wade family's architects. They did the Wade Memorial at Lakeview Cemetery. They did a number of striking buildings. But they designed that market house with a huge interior, almost like a cathedral, that tower, and then the outside stalls that are there. Yep. And so it's a municipal market, and that's what it's been for years. It was one of these places where I'm doing the game, if I can recall. I had an aunt who lived on the west side. We were East Siders, and we would periodically go to visit her. And we'd go into the market, and I was a young kid, and that's where you could see cows' heads, eyeballs, and all the innards of the animals that you don't find in a supermarket. And
all the things that kids find cool.
Cool, yeah. So And basically the stalls, many of the stalls for many years were owned by families year after year, sausage makers, whatever. So there's a history of it. You can still find some of those stalls that have been owned for ages. And of course, there's a lot of issues going on with the market now. They're trying to change the administration. But the one thing that is driving the West Side market, and I think the West Side market drove this, is that renaissance along West 25th and Lorraine.
Yes.
And, I would argue that started with Great Lakes Brewing, setting up shop there. And then people began to see just how cool that market was. And now that is one of the hottest places in town to live. And so, there are issues that have to be dealt with in the market, but it's going to survive. It's a fabulous piece of architecture. I was driving past it the other day, and of course they're working on that huge bell tower.
Mm-hmm.
And if the over the lintels, the outside, they're animal heads on the lintels, and it's almost as if you're looking at a cathedral or something like that. Bell and Benish were really inventive architects, and the brickwork is fantastic.
I'm curious about that bell tower and whatnot. Do you have any knowledge as to what? I mean, obviously there's a clock up there now, but it's a market. What's its purpose other than obviously it's very unique and it gets some attention?
Well, I think in a way, Bell and Benish were almost creating a cathedral to food.
Yes.
Yes. And that's it. And if anybody's been in an old market house, surviving in Europe, you're going to see some of the same treatments there, because this was the place where everybody came together to shop. And until the supermarket killed it, until the automobile killed it, people who lived on the West Side, that's where you got your stuff. That's where. And the fascinating thing for me, because I study immigration, is I've watched the cuisines within the markets change with the immigrant population of Cleveland. So you go from German and Slavic material foods they're still there, but you're going to Asian culinary things. So it's the shift. It reflects the people of Cleveland over time.
Oh, it certainly does, John. No, I appreciate it. Well, last question for you. I know you've spent years at the market. You talked about some of the different things. For me, one of the oddest things I saw was first time I ever saw a cow tongue. That was it. How about for you? When you went to the markets, what's one of the things that you saw there that was just different that you didn't see anywhere else?
I just saw the livers and the insides of the cow. They weren't packaged. They weren't under saran wrap or whatever else. They were just there, and they would be sliced up for you.
Yeah,
you're going through that, and I think. Dare I say that was enough to make me a vegetarian at times. And my mother went way back. She grew up Slovenian and went through the Depression, and one of her favorite foods was kidneys.
Mm-hmm.
And when she cooked kidneys, my father left the house because of the smell. And that was it. And my father was brought up Polish. And one of the Polish delicacies that he did not like was chudnina.
Oh, yeah.
Duck blood soup. Okay?
Oh, yeah. No,
so never had that. But when Mom made her kidney stew or whatever else, Dad left the house. And I left it too because I couldn't stand the smell.
Oh, gosh. John, great stories. Thank you once again for your information on the West Side Market. Certainly one of the gems of Cleveland, and I know they're putting some money into that to kind of do some renovations as well, which is great to see. So
yeah, and I would, if people are listening to this podcast and they haven't been to West 25th in Lorraine for a while, they need to go down there to see the enormous changes. It is just unbelievable.
It really is. Yeah, there's a lot of development. It certainly looks much different, even from last year. It looks completely different than what it did. But it's super exciting.
It seems to change daily.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, John, thank you again. We really appreciate it. And once again, talking about the West Side Market. Have a great day, John.
You too. Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Ed.
Out and about Northeast Ohio, Ted, we had a wonderful time this past week. We were in Northeast Ohio. We were all over the place. I'll just focus on this weekend because it's been a lot, and I don't want to bore our audience by just naming all these different places. So I'm going to go with two. The first one is I had the opportunity to go to the preseason game for the Cleveland Browns versus the Washington Commanders, which I guess that name's going to change again.
Yeah.
So I was given seats for my brother. He's a season ticket holder. I am not. My favorite seat is here at Rocky River on the couch where I can get my own beer and use the restroom when I want. But A1 and I decided we're going to go. So we checked it out. And first of all, the game was delayed by an hour and a half because of weather.
Yeah.
Which actually worked out well because it's kind of the driving situation there. And obviously parking is a bit of a mess. But the seats we sat in, I'm not trying to brag. I'm just explaining where we sat. So they actually all around the stadium now, if you take a look when you watch games, there are seats, which I'm not sure how this is going to work. There are seats in front of the people that had the first seats in the stadium. So like the dog pound, row 1, they've put another row in, which are these specialty seats. They call them like club seats, where you get access to the cardiac club, which is actually at times you might feel like you're going to have a heart attack. So you're pretty happy to go to the cardiac club because it's like 3 floors up to get there. But they call it field seats. And what it is, you're literally on the field. All you have in front of you is the field. Your view is okay on one side of the stadium, the other not so much, but it was very interesting. So we sat there, and when you sit in seats like that, you have to take in the experience and all that kind of stuff. So it was cool. The Browns ended up losing. We saw a streaker that actually came not too far away from us from another section. So we saw that, but it was kind of, how can I say this? When the game started an hour and a half later, a lot of people didn't stay. They left. And then the cardiac club, they lost power. So poor Andy Baskin before the game was trying to do his show, and he was in the dark. He was in the dark. You could tell he wasn't happy. So I didn't even say hello to him. I do know Andy is a great man, and I could tell he was frustrated. So it was a pretty interesting experience. And then after we were done, we just went home. So it was cool. But I don't know, that stadium to me, they're talking about doing different things. This is once again, maybe a little bit of a rant. There's just no character there. I'll just leave it at that. I go to other stadiums, college, pro. There's so much more character.
It's a giant piece of cement.
It is a giant piece of cement. And that's probably one of the best things I could say. Yeah, you got the bright lights and you got a team on the field, and yeah, you're going to cheer, but boy, I'm not going there because I want to see something cool at the stadium. That's where I'm at.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
So I did that, and then I had a quick trip to Milford, Ohio, which is right near Cincinnati. I had my godchild got married, so we spent some time there. And I would highly recommend the Little Miami Brewery. Very good place. That's where the wedding took place. So if you're ever in that area around Cincinnati, I highly recommend that. So, Ted, that's my out and about.
Okay.
I throw the baton to you. Hopefully, we'll be talking about a baseball game, and I think you guys did a couple other things this past week too.
So we did go to a Cleveland Indians game. We went to who did they play? God, I can't even remember, but we sat upper deck just to the left of home plate. I have no recollection of who they played. That's terrible. But I can tell you the food's fine. Food's great. Yeah. Of course, I'm the dad. So my wife spots some woman 4 rows up and a section over with fancy special nachos. And she says, "Oh, those look good." Which, what does that translate to, Ken? What does that mean?
I need this.
So I got to go find out. I got to talk to the woman. Hey, where'd you get those? Now we're behind home plate on the third base side. You want to know where the special nacho place is?
Down below.
Lower level right field.
Yep. Oh,
all the way. Yep. All the way.
Steps in.
Yeah.
Got some steps in.
So, and then I kind of lost it because I get back and so I come back with the nachos, then I go back down and I get the drinks and the hot dogs. And one of my kids had asked for popcorn. Well, each of these concession stands have different stuff. So you got to go.
Yes.
I got to make multiple trips.
Yep.
So I go back up to the seats and I got the hot dogs and the drinks. And my one son's crying because I didn't get him any food. And I'm like, well, I'm still going. I'm sorry, I haven't seen any of the game yet because I'm a food Uber. So
Oh gosh.
we had a good time, and then we ran the bases afterwards. We watched the Guardians butcher the ninth inning and lose the game, but that's the way it goes. And then we also went to a Lake County Captains game.
Oh, nice.
And that was fun and enjoyable, and we had really good seats for that. $20, and we were second row behind home plate.
How about that? Nice.
That's awesome. The only two things that I will say that I think that if they're a real baseball team, they need to rectify. The day that we were there, no peanuts anywhere in the ballpark.
Really?
I don't think you should be allowed to play baseball if you can't sell peanuts.
Was it peanut free that day, or
No, they just were out of them.
they were
And
out of
then
them?
There was a stand and they had foot-long hot dogs. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be great. This will be just like when I used to go to the old municipal stadium and get my foot-long hot dog, right?
Yeah, right.
I order the foot-long hot dog. They give you a foot-long hot dog in a regular sized bun.
The hot dog's longer than the bun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hot dog didn't even fit in the little, I don't know what that thing is that they call the little hot dog holder thing, that paper thing.
Yeah.
They didn't have foot-long hot dog holders.
Oh my.
But
well, it's the end of the year, so maybe they're running out of stuff.
could be. Who knows?
Did they win?
They did. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
A double header.
One for the week.
They won both.
Nice.
And my kids got baseballs from the team. It was great.
Oh,
And
that's
they got
great.
to run the bases.
Nice. Which
Yeah.
experience did they like better? Lake County
yeah.
Captains or the Tribe?
Uh,
Guardians, Tribe, whatever you prefer.
They didn't say.
50-50.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
Yep.
I know which one I like better, but
I figured as much.
yeah.
You like the one where you didn't see most of the game and you walked around the whole time, right?
I felt like I was in great shape after that. Then
Yeah,
I sat on
Mr.
my
Steps.
big fat
Mr. Steps.
backside and had a bunch of nachos.
That looks really good.
Yeah.
I bet it does.
Yeah.
Oh, Ted. Well, thanks for being out and about. Northeast Ohio, spending your hard-earned money to support our local businesses. Ted, thanks. Thanks for all you do.
The most trusted name in journalism, Klopp's Clips.
All right, Ken, time for news. A
Ready.
Louisiana woman welcomed her fourth child last month. Delijah Snowton was born on July 20th. She has two sisters. 12-year-old Kamira was born on July 20th of 2011. And 6-year-old Jalaya was born on July 20th of 2017. All three sisters have the same birthday.
Wow.
What are the odds on that?
That's crazy.
They do have a brother who messed it all up and was born in February of 2014.
There's always somebody.
Yeah. Got to have one of those people.
Yeah.
A delayed flight, nothing new, but the reason an Iraqi aircraft was delayed is certainly unique. Apparently, a bear in a crate in the cargo hold escaped the crate. The bear had to be sedated by specialists so it could be removed from the plane. The plane, by the way, was headed from Baghdad to Dubai.
How do you explain that to everybody? We have a delay right now. We're gonna have to stay here for a bit. A bear got out of the crate.
Yeah.
Just so you know, no, it's nothing to worry about. We'll take care of it.
Nothing to see here.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of nothing to see here, August means back to school, but students in Northwest Elementary in Tampa, Florida, shared their first day back at school with a colony of bats.
Oh.
The bats took up residence in the school, and it's illegal to block bats from their roosts during mating season.
Oh, my.
So some classrooms and hallways were closed because of the bats. Don't worry, though. A wildlife expert says kids are at school during the day, and the bats don't come out then.
Oh, they come out at night.
Right.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Now,
Well, that's got to make you good knowing that there's bats around. That's nice.
how many moms do you think would say, "Oh, okay, in that case, Johnny, go on to school"?
Yeah, I think you're going to get some calls. That's my 2 cents.
Bat mating season ended yesterday. A Michigan mom bought a package of organic spinach. Her daughter was checking out the package at home when she spotted a live frog inside. Yeah. Mom Amber Warwick says she's just relieved the frog was found before it became a meal. How about that? Get some frog legs, some garlic butter. That sounds good.
Oh,
she bought the Earthbound Farms product at Meijer. Meijer says the frog was carefully relocated to a new home outdoors.
Oh, I bet it was.
Yeah, set free. Yeah, probably.
That is. I guess you got to watch your spinach.
Warwick got a refund from Earthbound Farms, and they have opened an investigation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Here's the spinach. Open it up. Here's a frog. I don't know. That would freak me out. I'm not gonna lie. That would be a little rough.
Now, if Fozzie Bear popped up and started telling jokes, then you
different story. Especially if it was Grover too, a big Grover fan.
Yeah. Okay. In Colorado, a driving school employee was trying to park in a spot in front of the community driving school. Instead, the driver drove right into the building.
Oh, no.
A photo of the crash
No.
showed most of the cars stuck in the driving school's front window under a sign that said, "Learn to drive."
Oh, God.
Shattered glass, broken bricks, and everything else is around the car. Police say there was only one minor injury. The driving school quickly noted that the driver was not a driving instructor and the car was his own.
Oh, my.
That's some viral advertising right there.
Well, luckily no one was hurt. That's the big part, but wow, great stories.
Sports, just before baseball's trade deadline, the Miami Marlins acquired slugger Jake Berger from the White Sox. To celebrate, the club offered $5 hamburgers at the next home game.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. The
I'd
only
say
thing that would make this story better is if Jake Berger was a vegetarian.
That would be outstanding. Or if the Cleveland Guardians picked up Tim Nachos. They had $5 nachos.
Yeah.
Man, those look good.
Yeah. But yeah, they're in right field in the lower level. Go get them. I'm Ted Klopp. That's news to me.
Blah blah blah.
Blah blah blah.
Blah blah blah.
Blah blah.
Blah blah blah.
Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah.
Our guest today is an actor, a writer, and a producer. Currently doing all of that for a podcast, an episodic podcast called Around the Sun, which is presented via the Broadway Podcast Network and available, well, everywhere you listen to this show. So let's talk with Brad Forenza. Brad, thanks for your time. Is this
Thank you, Ted.
Are we hearkening back to old radio shows with an episodic podcast?
Yeah, days of radio plays and scripted audio drama. We even had a season ripe with alien invasion last year, season 2.
Wow. Okay, well, tell us a little bit about what Around the Sun is.
Sure. Well, like many pet projects around the sun cut its teeth during the earlier days of pandemic when we were stuck inside. And just because we're stuck inside doesn't mean the creativity goes away. And I have always been a writer and had a series of 10-minute plays that had been put on their feet and shopped around from festival to festival around the country. And I wanted to make them live a bit more permanently in the universe. And strangely, the pandemic was an opportunity to do that, to ask people that I had worked with before with some visibility that I don't have to participate in an audio drama, bring it back to the days of radio plays, as you just suggested. They were free, it was lockdown, and the rest, as they say, is history. So we're going into season 3 this fall, 2023.
Had the opportunity to listen to a couple of your episodes. Very interesting work, I must say. Much different. I found it very entertaining. First of all, congratulations! You won
Thank
Best Scripted Podcast in 2021. Absolutely outstanding. So you have a different background. As Ted kind of mentioned, you're involved as an actor. You do some writing. You're a producer, and then you're also a professor.
Oh, you did your homework, Ken.
I did my homework. I have my moments, as Ted will say. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But I guess the question that I have is incorporating all those things in your life. Is that what we're hearing on the podcast? Is some of those different experiences that you have and ideas and all that? Does that come through on the podcast?
I think so. I mean, I can't divorce myself from who I am and what my lived experiences are, just like neither of you can, and most people can't. So while I don't steer into academic content or research with respect to writing a scripted, episodic, continuous audio drama, I think it's all part of the human experience. So meeting new people, meeting thousands of wonderful, wide-eyed students who want to learn, it has an effect on a person. And being a researcher of human services also adds to my understanding of different situations that human beings find themselves as recipients of social services. Thank you both for having me on, by the way, and the fact that you've listened and know my background, I'm all the more humbled. I have to tell you both, I was literally just in Cleveland for the very first time this past weekend. I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Awesome museum, awesome city. And that was piggybacking off of a trip to Jamestown, New York to the Lucille Ball Comedy Fest. So I had a great trip up to your neck of the woods for the very first time and loved it.
Awesome. Well, it's always nice when people have good experiences in our little place. So tell me, this is season 3. Now, if I want to if I want to go through this, do I need to listen to them in order, or it kind of look like these are, it'd help, but they're individual stories?
They're mostly individual stories. Certainly seasons 1 and seasons 2, which are all in the bag. And as you said, your listeners can find them wherever they listen to podcasts, including your wonderful podcast, and they can enjoy them in a self-contained kind of way. So if they have a favorite star, actor, personality, and they want to listen to just that episode, they're not going to miss anything by not having listened to all the episodes prior. Creeping up on season 3, because I got to keep it interesting for myself and hopefully grow and evolve with the times myself. Season 3, which is dropping, like I said, fall 2023, is going to have a continuous plot line. So the voice acting ensemble functions more in a continuous way as opposed to a one-off or 2-episode kind of way. But the episodes, even in season 3, can still be enjoyed by themselves. It just might make more sense if they're listened to from start to finish. But if you're a big Adasa fan or Jenny Kwan or anyone else who's been in those prior seasons, those episodes can be enjoyed in a self-contained kind of way.
Brad, obviously with Ted and I, our podcast is obviously much different than yours. We kind of talk about current topics and we have interviews talking to people like yourself. I guess for the people at home not understanding the podcast world, world and putting things together. I always find it interesting. How long does it take you? Let's say one of the episodes from
Oh
season
boy.
3. How long does that take you to put something like that together?
That's another great question. And because it's season 3, I'm very much on a production clock that backs into the calendar year. So to get a season launched and out there distributed to our wonderful listeners is a year-long process. And at this point, it's not so much season 1 because those episodes were in the bag as 10-minute plays, and then I just kind of repurposed them, converted them, made them accessible to a listening audience instead of a theater audience. But seasons 2 and 3 have been on this calendar year timeline where it's writing the episodes for this audio drama podcast medium, and then doing all the typical pre-production stuff, casting people, getting them contracted because they're all professional performers, and then recording the episodes, and then post-production is editing them. So with editing, as a writer, you're telling a story, even if that's not how I would previously, pre all this Around the Sun stuff, would have considered storytelling. But when I edit, it's like composing, it's like adding punctuation. It really affects the performance that's already in the can from the actors. So it's a year-long process. And then, of course, promoting it, thanks to your good graces, is a whole different skill set and requires me to tap into some extroverted personality traits that aren't necessarily there when I'm writing it and I'm quiet and by myself and plunking out these episodes.
So tell us a little bit about some of the other members of the cast. You mentioned that these are professional theater folks. Who are we listening to in the show?
Oh boy, well, season 3, which is coming up, and thankfully I got it all in the bag before the SAG-AFTRA strike. I'm a SAG-AFTRA member, so I sympathize with that issue. I'm allowed to talk about my project because it's my project. And at the same time, here's who's in season 3. Now I can't forget anyone, so I'm going to do it alphabetically. Apologies if I take a hot second. Season 3, we have Francois Clemens from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. We have Judy Gold, Emmy winner for The Rosie O'Donnell Show. Terry Hu from Disney's Zombies. We have Wilson Germain Heredia, Tony winner for Rent. Jay Rodriguez, an Emmy winner for the original Queer Eye installment. We have me, for whatever that's worth. I'm way out of alphabetical order here. We have Robert Finaro from The Sopranos. We have Katie McLean, a 3-time Emmy winner for her many roles on daytime television. And last but not least, we have a certain Oscar winner, Miss Estelle Parsons, whose resume is so voluminous and at the same time, perhaps best known for playing Blanche Barrow in Bonnie and Clyde. So that's who's coming up. And then behind us in seasons 1 and 2, it's a cast that's 30 people deep at this point, more than 30, which is just wacky to say, but it's doing well. So thank you, listening audience.
Brad, my question for you, what an impressive of different actors and performers that you have on the podcast. Once again, maybe stepping a little bit behind the curtain for many of us that don't know the industry well. How do you get these performers to be part of this? How does that process work?
So the names that I just mentioned, while I've become friendly with some of them, they weren't necessarily in my social network back during pandemic, but some of the names attached to season 1, I had the privilege of working with as an actor, as a student in New York City in workshop contexts. And those are the people I referenced. They were willing to do the project season 1 because they trusted me. They knew my working style. They knew my intentions were good. And then I think their names just helped other people say yes. It made it easier for people who didn't know me and didn't necessarily understand what I was trying to do to get to yes a little bit quicker. And it is ultimately a professional project. So now that we're post-pandemic, it is a bit more of a business skill set that I'm tapping into to get people to yes. And at the same time, because the work is there, it speaks for itself. And someone like Ms. Parsons can refer to what's already been done and de facto trust me or understand what it is that I'm trying to do here.
Awesome. Well, one more time, how long are the episodes? Is there a best place to find it, or can people interact with you on social media, that kind of thing?
Thank you, Ted. They can certainly interact with me. I wish I had, an interesting social media life. They won't find any FOMO through my social media handles, which is at Brad Forenza. But when it's project time, they'll find the episodes pretty easily. And the episodes, if you're giving me a platform to pitch here, the episodes are generally 10 to 15 minutes long. So it's not a minute or two of a Instagram video, but short enough to listen to on the checkout line of the grocery store or a drive waiting to pick your children up from school at 3 p.m. Or brushing your teeth. Or if you're a New Yorker like me, a quick subway ride. They're nice and user-friendly in that sense. And the medium, not for nothing, as Bruce Valanche said, if I'm name dropping, he's part of season 2, and he actually has some of that alien plot line. But he said what's cool about the medium is that it empowers the listener to kind of create the world with their mind's eye, to populate the visuals of the stories that they're telling. And in 10 to 15 minutes, generally we're locked into one metaphoric set. And yeah, it's all audible storytelling where the listener creates the visual world in their mind's eye. So we can have aliens, we can have an alien invasion. We can, in season 3, we're in a snowy mountain region. We can imagine that world.
Wow. I don't know that I ever imagined the words quick and subway ride for New York being in the same sentence, but that's
it's all relative. If you're in a car or above ground, they would need to be half-hour episodes minimally.
Got it. Okay.
3 miles, 90 minutes.
Wow. Okay. Well, Brad, thank you very much for taking the time, and best of luck with season 3.
Thank you so much, Ted and Ken, and thank you to your listeners, and thanks for sharing the awesome city of Cleveland with me over the weekend.
Ted, it's time for some overachievements, and we have 2 of them today. And the first one, a museum in suburban Chicago is displaying 2,098 sock monkeys. That's correct. 2,098 sock monkeys. I don't know if you knew this or not. It's a Guinness World Record.
Oh,
how about that?
How about that?
The museum's owners started collecting sock monkeys in 2006. 17 years later, Arlene and Michael Okunu now have their collection verified with a plaque to go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So, what do you just go on eBay or you just go to the store and pick up the sock? I'm not familiar with the sock monkeys. Are you?
I know.
I don't know this.
Can you imagine what they must charge to get into that museum?
Oh, it's got to be big. Huge money.
Yeah.
At least $20.
A cyclist is trying to get his effort recognized by Guinness. He rode 500 miles across Iowa backwards. Will Walker was one of about 30,000 cyclists taking part in the ride across the state. He was the only one sitting on his bike's handlebars, though, looking over his shoulder to steer. The current record for cycling backwards, 210 miles.
I love his name, Will Walker.
Will Walker.
He doesn't walk, he rides a bike.
Yeah,
I love that.
Will Walker. Yeah. Will Walker, Jake Berger. We got them all.
Berger.
Yeah.
And I bet you Bill Cycle's an excellent walker.
I heard he's a long distance runner. I think he does the Mohican Pine Man, I think is what he does. All right. Well, There you have it. There are your overachievers.
Ted,
No?
one of your favorite segments, Misspeak of the Week. And
Okay.
I believe we may have two of them. First one, last week, Vice President Kamala Harris was speaking about the government's efforts to fight climate change. Listen closely.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
Well, I want to double check to make sure I heard that correctly. She said reduce population?
That's
So
When
it's
we
just
invest
week.
in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
wait a minute. If you reduce population, you're not going to have any children, are you?
Well, that's pretty much it. I mean, you're going to have clean air. You just have less people. Start clearing them out, I guess. I think she meant to say, I think she was looking for pollution there. That's my 2 cents.
Okay.
Oh, my.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got that. Then White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre spoke to reporters on Monday about the deadly wildfires in Hawaii. And during her remarks, she mentioned Hawaii's 2 senators.
Senator Horino, who I said the president spoke to just last night, he thanked the president for the immediate support of federal agencies have delivered for residents of Hawaii, and so has Senator Schatz. And so, look.
Look,
Senator Schatz.
The problem isn't just that Jean-Pierre butchered the names of the senators. That's Senator Mazie Hirono and Senator Brian Schatz. The other problem is that she referred to Senator Hirono as he. Senator Hirono is the first female senator from Hawaii. She's serving her second term in the Senate after being in the House of Representatives for 2 straight terms.
That's a rough go. That's a rough go. That's not what you're looking for.
Shots.
Shots. That's that. Once she was saying that, I was like, oh my gosh. That's what I was thinking.
You know, we make fun of Joe Biden periodically when he makes mistakes, and we say that the people, you know, they should have him prepared better.
Yes.
This is her job.
I know. That's a different story. Yes. She was not prepared. I think she was rattled. Obviously, it's a tough situation in Hawaii, what she's covering, but still, as a professional, you need to be ready. No doubt.
Well, there you go. There are your misspeaks of the week.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Time for Cleveland sports history. Let's bring in our Cleveland sports historian, Dusty Sloan. Dusty, interesting one for you. It's around the birth of Ted Klopp, August 2nd, 1924. Ace first baseman Joe Hauser sets an AL record of 14 total bases in a game. What a contest. He had 3 homers and a double as Philadelphia beats Cleveland 12-4 at Dunn Field. What can you tell us about this contest, and what can you tell us about Joe Hauser?
Well, unfortunately, we're not doing a very good one as far as the Cleveland franchise is concerned. But yeah, we talk about Joe Hauser. They were the Philadelphia Athletics back then, and he was their first baseman. And like you said, 3 home runs, 1 double for 14 total bases, 4 for 5. He drove in 4. He scored 4. But Joe Hauser was a first baseman, debuted in 1922 for Philadelphia, and didn't play long. He played for the Philly A's from 22 to 24. For some reason, missed 25, came back in 26. For some reason, missed 27, came back in 28. And then ironically, played his age 30 year in 1929 in Cleveland. But he did not have a very long career.
Interesting. Is this record inflated or deflated based upon the time that he played, would you say?
Well, I'd say it's pretty impressive because you're talking about the dead ball era, and there wasn't a lot of power back then. So now obviously the record has been broken since, and the record is 19 now by Sean Green back in 2002. But to get 14 total bases back in the 20s when there wasn't a whole lot of power, And to hit 3 home runs, that gave him 18 at that point in the season. He finished hitting 27 homers and driving in 115. So aside from Babe Ruth, there just wasn't a lot of power back then. So that kind of makes this even more impressive.
Dusty, obviously making this a little bit of a Cleveland angle. Who are some of the players that were playing for? And we're talking Cleveland Indians at that time, correct? Was that the name,
Correct.
or was it wasn't Spiders? We're talking Indians, correct?
We're talking Indians, and they did have some players that you recognize if you go back through the history, and guys like Tris Speaker and Joe and Luke Sewell. The poor guy that took the loss that day on the mound was Joe Schott, who gave up 6 runs in 2 innings, and then the rest of the bullpen didn't do him any favors. But the other interesting thing is the Philadelphia pitcher Stan Bumgardner went the complete game despite giving up 11 hits and 4 runs. He faced 41 batters. It doesn't say how many pitches he threw, but you can probably guess how many it was.
It sounds like a lot. So, yeah. All right, Dusty. Obviously, thanks for the time as well for the info on professional sports, but want to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about amateur sports. Ashland University is kicking things off here in the next couple of weeks as we start the fall season here for 2023. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. As a lot of people that listen to this know, I am the Director of Athletic Communications at Ashland, and we're gearing up for the start of the school year coming up. We have the 12th ranked football team in the country, going to start the season on August 31st at number 16 ranked IUP over in Pennsylvania, and that's the team that knocked us out of the playoffs last year. So it's kind of a rarity to start one season against the team you ended against the previous year. So it's going to be very fascinating from several angles that way. And then the football team comes home on September 9th for the home opener against the 2-time defending national champion Ferris State. So we're looking forward to a big crowd and a great game there. But we've got a lot of excitement in our athletic department. We're coming off a GMAC President's Cup Championship, which is the all sports trophy. And we're looking forward to hopefully repeating and having a great season across the board. But yeah, we have students on campus and practicing, gearing up, and getting ready for 23-24.
Unbelievable. Oh, this summer has just flown by.
It most certainly has. And like I've told Kenny D many times, if I ever wrote an autobiography, it'd be called Every Day's a Monday. Because once we get into school year, it feels like it's Groundhog Day every single day, and you're on call all the time. But when you do what you love, and you do it where your alma mater is and in your hometown, it's not nearly as bad as it could be. So,
well said.
All right, Dusty. Well, thank you very much for the info on the Eagles and the info on Cleveland sports.
Thanks, guys.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Oh no, not a dad joke.
Ted, I wanted a cigar, but they were too expensive. So I rolled some tobacco in a piece of brown construction paper.
How'd that go?
It was close, but no cigar.
That joke was horrible.
Ken, we're coming to the end of episode number 120. Boy, we're just rolling right along here. Did you see? I know there's one near you, the Winking Lizard restaurant. Did you hear about this? The Winking Lizard.
Yes, about
they're not going to have Winking Lizards anymore.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So I just thought we'd mention that. I understand it's still kind of, I don't know. My kids always enjoyed, they would go up and look and check the lizard out and whatnot. But I can see where that, could become a bit of a challenge to keep the lizard comfortable. But no more winking. I don't know. I wonder if they'll change the name. Empty lizard box. I don't know.
I don't know. That's a good question. They can't. They have the sauces. The name's way too involved.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I did read that. Well, as they say, Ted, all good things come to an end, unfortunately.
That's right. So. Well, just like this show, of course,
Yeah.
Wrapping it up. Did you know that in 2 weeks, Tom Jenkins is going to join us?
Tom Jenkins.
Yeah.
I do remember you sending me an email on that.
Yes, Tom Jenkins created the Cleveland Gaming Classic.
Oh.
This he'll tell the story, but it started in his basement, and now it's going to have thousands of people at the IX Center.
That's
So
unbelievable. What a story that is just there. You start think about something you start in your basement and then it ends up at the IX Center. That's insane.
I guess it's grown a little.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I would say so. Well, Ted, great show. Anything
Today?
exciting happening for you? I know the kids are back to school. My kids start actually on Thursday.
Next week it all starts.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's just that summer flew by. It's just so many activities and all that kind of stuff. So
we got
safe travels, all the teachers and kids going back to school for sure.
Absolutely. We got school, we got hockey, we got football,
and
we got soccer.
You can't have any more. You can't have any more. Yeah, well, you could. I mean, you could do some golf and do some other stuff, but I think you have more than enough.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, Ted, great stuff. Special thanks to John Grabowski. Another history lesson on Cleveland. Dusty Sloan on a Cleveland sports history. Our guest, Brad Forenza. Very exciting time for him as he has another episode from his great podcast called Around the Sun. We appreciate the time with him. And then, of course, you fine folks for listening. We appreciate it. We look forward to more fun and exciting stuff here in 2 weeks. Until then, just remember, we're two middle-aged men in Cleveland.
Two Middle-Aged Men in Cleveland is sponsored by Westminster AV, custom audio-visual packages for all occasions.